Hello dear students, welcome to the Advanced Programming with C# course lecture 3. Today we will be doing database operations be it using C# rather than using the SQL Server Management Studio like we have shown in lecture 2. I am starting with a new project. I will compose a VPF app.NET project. Let's pick our folder, lecture 3. Database manipulation is one of the most important aspects of programming in the today's world because almost all of the applications that you are going to develop will use a kind of database. If you know the syntax of TSQL, which is common in many of the different database systems, relational systems such as Microsoft SQL Server or SQLite or Oracle or MySQL and such, you won't have hard time to write code for any of them. Let's also open our SQL management server because usually I design my database and tables from SQL Server Management Studio and then do the operations with my program. So for designing tables, structures, indexes, columns, basically the database, using SQL Server Management Studio is better. You see, I can either log in with SA, System Administrator, or Windows Authentication. This is the more common way. Either way works. Let's connect with Windows Authentication. We had a school database, if you remember, which had students table, and here are records that we have generated previous lectures. Let's start with adding a button to delete all the records in the students table. I will name it as delete all students in students table. Let's name it as. Basically, we can write the same statement and execute it in C#. There are several types of commands. I will show you each of them. This is update command. Therefore, let's use this code. I will start from simple version and then I will explain you up to advanced version. We use SQL connection class which is not available in our references right now. Therefore, I will add the necessary class. SQL connection uses, yes, SQL data using system data. So let's edit. Once I edit it, still not available. Looks like I have to install its package because right now I am using .NET Core. Therefore, it is not available. Find and install with latest version. I will click it. I think it will use NuGet packages. Let's see it. Installing system data SQL client completed. You see at the left bottom of the screen. And when we click the framework packages, we see the package. We can see its version. It is here. I wonder if it is available in the NuGet. Yes. You see from NuGet, it has installed System Data SQL Client by Microsoft. We need connection string. Let's define our connection string here. Equal to, this is kind of tricky part, therefore watch this part closely. I can use either Windows authentication or system admin authentication, which you have to set a system password when you are installing. For easily solving it, I will show the Windows authentication. The server is localhost by default and database. This is important, which database we will use. To get your full path of your database, you need to execute a command as select add server name. This is important. Our server name is this one. For this computer, this changes according to your computer. This one, and then the database name by default. You see, previous lecture I have shown you that you have to write the full path, DBO and table name, or if you have selected the database from here, you can just write it as like this. This is important. We will define our default database name. Therefore, we won't be needed to write full path of the queries. This is the easier way. I think this is the correct. Now, we are going to compose an SQL connection object from SQL connection class. And then we have to open the connection. By the way, this is not the appropriate way of doing it, but I will show you from the simplest way to the advanced and proper way. I open my connection and I will remove the using for as a beginning. It will execute a command. So the command will be the command of the SQL query. Delete from the table name, which is TVL students, that's it. And then this one. We will execute with a non-query. Why non-query? Because it will not return any results to us. Use it for update, delete, and insert. And this will return us integer. Why? Because it will return the number of rows affected. Let's say deleted. We can say as rows deleted, and we can show deleted, let's say equal to this one. We can format it by, okay, let's first add our $sign. Okay, now let's go step by step. So I have put a breakpoint here. I am running my application. All right. Okay, the application is live. When I click the button, it is starting from here. Step over, step over. Okay, the connection is defined. When we hover our mouse, we can see the default parameters. You see data source, database name, access token, client connection ID, connection string, connection timeout. You see the connection timeout is by default 15 seconds. You may want to change that for longer taking queries. When I step over, it will open connection, and if there is an error in my string, it will throw an error. So it says it cannot open database, the login failed for user. So I'm writing the full path of server, because when we do a select server name, we get this. Okay, let's try this way. This is integrated security, SSPI, security, persistent security information, false trusted connection, yes. These are some default parameters. Okay, now my connection is working. You see the connection open, didn't throw any error. Then I define my command with command query and the connection object. Okay, then I set the rows deleted. You see, it has deleted 73 rows, then it will show message. However, there are some big problems in here. I didn't close this connection. So you may think that what error it may cause. So let me illustrate you to that. If you open connections and do not close them properly, do not dispose them properly, then you have a big problem. What kind of problem you may have? Let's test it. Test connection leave open. So I will put a void. I will copy and paste this. By the way, you should never have any copy paste code in your software. Okay, so how am I going to test that? For testing it, let's add another button to illustrate. Name it as test not closing. By the way, you see it puts X here. It doesn't make any difference in practice, so you can ignore it or you can check the internet for what it is. Okay, I will do a for loop. I will make it run. And here I will just call this method. So whenever this method is called, it will open a connection, but it will not close it. So these objects will remain in the garbage collection, and these connections to the SQL server will remain open. So let's see what happens when we run this code. In the early versions, it was throwing an error. Meanwhile, let's see the number of open connections from the SQL server. We got our error. So you see timeout expired. The timeout period elapsed prior to the obtaining a connection from the pool. This may have occurred because all pooled connections were in use and max pool size reached. So you see, after a while, you cannot open any more connections. Okay, it says 41. To reset them, you can do task manager, services, and here, Microsoft SQL Server, you can do restart. It will restart services. Okay, running again. When I do, okay, now 18 connections, 28 connections. So let's rerun our application and watch the number of connections getting opened. Then we can observe, okay, 124. Okay, after 124 connections, we are not able to open any more connections. So the pool size is about 100. Therefore, what we need to do? Okay, what can we do? Either you have to close all connections after you have opened them, or use the same connection object. But in my applications, what I do is, after the command is executed, I close the connection like this. So let's retry and see what happens, if any problem will occur or not. Okay, 41. Okay, you see 42, 41, 42, 41. Why? Because it is opening a connection, executing a query, and closing it. By the way, we can also watch the executed queries with Tools, SQL Server Profiler, and here Windows Authentication, Desktop. Here I will pick Tuning, so we can see Run, and okay, here the query is getting executed. You see delete from, by the way, let's pause it for a while. Delete from TBS students. These are the queries that is getting executed. This is the server query, SV reset connection, and delete from students, reset connection, because we are opening connections and closing it right now. Okay, the all 10,000 query has executed. You see 100,000, actually it is even bigger than that. Okay, what I want to do is I will do another test connection open, close here, and test single connection. So here, what I'm going to do is I will have an instance of an object, connection permanent. Okay, the connection string is defined here, therefore it should work. I have to make this static. Okay. In the test single connection, we will test as is connection open. State equal to connection state dot open. Yeah, I think we can do that. And if it is not equal to open, what we are going to do is we will define a new connection instance and connection permanent dot open. Okay, so this should solve our initialization problem. I have the connection, I have opened it, then I can use connection permanent here and I will leave it open. However, I won't be opening it all the time. So what I'm going to do is I will use a stopwatch. I think we need to add reference of it. Okay, using system diagnostics, stop timer equal to new stopwatch. First, what I'm going to do is simply I will test the performance of both approaches, see if there is any difference. Stop timer, or let's say watch timer permanent connection. Okay, let's run 10k connection first. I will start this, okay, and then stop this, then okay, another one. This time I will start permanent, stop it. I will call the test single connection. Then I will copy and paste them. Or we can do a for query. I will run the queries 2 times, will be more precise or correct. And at the final message box show open close approach total time will be equal to total elapsed milliseconds and 0 and milliseconds CMS permanent connection approach total time equal to other one permanent. Okay, so and let's add a new line here. Now we are going to conduct an experiment of approaches. I prefer open and close. However, I am not sure which one is more suitable. So let's test it. Okay, we have 123. Oh, because we have used incorrect method. What we need to do is call this method. So okay, now it is testing. You see SQL Server is using about 20% of CPU. Keep executing queries against the database. Okay, so the open close approach took 6300 ms. Permanent connection approach took around 4000 ms. I wonder if this is very correct. So let's increase the number of loop to test it more. By the way, if you don't reset the stopwatch, it will keep the elapsed time. So if you want to reset the stopwatch, you have to reset it with reset method call. Okay, let's retest. If you use this approach, leave one connection permanent, it has a drawback. Why? Because if you are doing a multi-threaded programming, then if multiple threads try to access your connection at the same time, it may cause problems. The preferred way is opening a connection and closing it each time when you are doing query. That is the answer, so it is probably not thread safe. Okay, so you see they have close time. However, opening and closing the connection is preferred method, and they are very close in terms of performance.
On the contrary, that's absolutely what you should do. That's the behavior SQL connection was designed for. You should use a using statement to automatically close the connection at the end of the block you're using it for, and the connection pool mechanism will automatically handle the real underlying connections to the database.
What else we need to do to make our connections proper? First of all, you have to use using. What does that mean? That means that instead of calling connection close, if an error happens when you are executing your command, here this will not get called. So the proper way is encapsulating any statement with using if it is supporting that, like this. So what does this means? This means that whatever happens inside here, after this block of code is executed, even if it throws an uncaught error, the connection object will be disposed of. So therefore, you have to use it this way. And if you do this way, you don't have to execute the command close. And here SQL command, it also supports using, I believe. Okay, it's done. like this. So whatever inside using statement will be get automatically disposed of after the using statement ends. So this is the proper way using encapsulation. Okay, let's rerun and see if there is any difference. Probably there won't be any difference, but by the way, this is still not the proper way. Why? Because whenever you are going to do an SQL query execution, you would be needed to do copy paste code like this. I see that in some of the students' projects, and that is absolutely not the correct way. In your programming, you should never write the same code twice. What you need to do is turn your programming into methods and do method calls or classes and do inheritance to avoid duplicate code writing. I will show them to you, don't worry. Open close approach and permanent, they are pretty close. I would say that the performance difference can be ignored because they are almost same. However, this is the way it is intended to be used. So now this is the way we execute update, delete, or insert. Let's write a method to insert 100 random students. Okay, so for inserting students, what we need to do? It is same. First, write our base query as insert into the table name. It is school, as you know, TBS students. By the way, I don't write the query like this. Why? Because in my connection string here, I have defined the database name. Therefore, I don't need to write the database name. I can just write the table name like this. But with this connection, you can also access different databases with providing full path. So inserting the TBS students, then I will write the each column name that I want to insert. To easily do it, you can right click TBS student script, create, I think like this, insert to new query. Okay, it has generated me column names and actually some default way. So I can use this for my leverage. For this to be valid, I need to add character. Now my string supports multi-line, and with $value it supports inline object placement. I will insert student ID, student name, student email, ismail, nickname. Then we will insert values with the first value. So the first value will be student ID. So let's generate a random ID and let's put next. And the second value will be, okay, inside values we have parentheses opening and close. The first value is integer, therefore I am just writing it like this. Then the second value is student name. I think we had student names that we have randomly generated. Let's find a random string generating. I will find a ready function. This, okay, it requires me to define a length, and any length it will generate. So for inserting string, I write string beginning and string ending. This is the format that the SQL takes, and in front of it I put n to support Turkish characters as well. So we can add Turkish characters, something, or any other language specific character that you want. Here I will call this random string method with length. I will define the length with my_rand. Next, let's say minimum 3 characters and maximum 15 characters. And then what else I will provide as values? Student email, same. Let's do it something like this. Okay, let's add Gmail to end of it. You see the add character right now breaking my code. I have somewhere a code breaking thing. Okay, and here, interesting. What is breaking my code? Yeah, here. I need another parentheses and parentheses. Okay, so add character is not breaking. And then what else value is mail. This is boolean, therefore I will use my_rand again. So it will be 0 or 1, therefore like this. And a nickname. Okay, let's define a static nickname, static length. So maybe something like this. You can tell the SQL server this is the end of the query with semicolon. It is not necessary, but it's a good practice. So let's say the length will be equal to 8 characters. Maximum 8, minimum 8. Alright, so this is our query. Then what we are going to do is we will execute this query same as delete query. So I will copy and paste the code for now like this. Then the base query here and the number of rows, let's add it here like this, and plus equal. Okay, then this is interesting. This is by default 0. Okay, then we can show. Okay, by the way, this will be rows inserted. So when you change a variable name, the Microsoft Visual Studio will tell you rename this to this, and it will be rename it everywhere where it is referenced. Student records added to the database, and let's try. Let's run the application. This is execute non-query, and let's select top 5k rows. Okay, there is nothing here and it's empty. We can also use SQL Server Profiler to see our queries with new trace, connect. We can pick standard, TSQL, whatever, standard. When I click, okay, one student records added. So our query was correct, and here I can see the query. So this is the executed query, as you can see. With values, it is including. When I refresh, okay, I can see our randomly generated data. When I click again, it is also added. You can also see the executed scripts. So it also shows which application has executed the query. I think I can filter this with a set as to SQL Server Management, but not from here probably. So this is the query I have executed here. Even this is shown here. So whatever the query executed is displayed here. You can see also some system queries as well. Okay, so this is the query that we execute with core.NET SQL client. So let's open a new trace, and I want to see only my project query. So here column filters, and here application name, as you can see there is not like. So SQL Server Profiler queries are excluded, and here I think I can add not like. Okay, here I click it double. Oh, I will add like, and I will add .NET Core. I don't know if it is case sensitive or not, but we will see. Okay, like .NET Core. When I run, okay, there is nothing. Let's run it. Okay, so it is probably case sensitive, therefore it is not displaying. So let's new trace, standard, and here, oh, core.net. Okay, I see core.net. So let's stop it. New event selection, column filters, core.net. Let's see if it is case sensitive or not. Run and insert. Still not working. So can I copy and paste? Yeah, I'm able to copy and paste. Here I will paste exactly as it is. Close it, run. Interesting, it is not working. Why? Anyway, you can work on this to fix it. I will not spend time with it. And then now we can put this inside a record, such as this, inside a method actually. Multiple. Let's just edit. Let's run. It's like 500 times. So this will generate 500 random records, and let's click here tuning. Okay, when we do tuning, it will automatically filter more of the system queries. I think when we run the application, now we can see our insert queries. It's already done. 500 student records added to the database. When we select, can see them. You see random IDs, student name, student email. However, normally we would expect it to have all different student IDs, but we are not doing that check right now. We are just learning how to do SQL commands. So this was insert command. You can also write, I would suggest you to write the command here first, test it if it is working, such as insert into TBR students, the column names, student ID, student name, okay, student email, his mail, nickname, then values. You can also encapsulate integer with a string, and then test, and then test gmail.com, and then ismail1 nickname, test grade, and run it. And if it is working, as you can see it is working, then apply it to your program. So this way you will be less likely to make mistake. So we have seen how to make insert query as well, using SQL Server Profiler trace feature of. Okay, in using statement, let me show you an example. For example, I have defined a variable like this. Can I use it here? Yes, here I can use it. However, can I use it here? Equal to. Here I cannot use it because this object will get disposed when you are out of scope of the using statement. And when using statement ends, it will automatically close the connection of SQL server and dispose it off. So this is about being using statement. It is important whatever you define in using statement inside the scope of using statement will be immediately disposed of when using statement ends. This is important. How to say permanent connection usage and SQL server tooling with stopwatch. So we have seen delete command. I will modify this delete command for deleting a certain student. Then I will also add update student and select as well. So before we do delete, let's add select command to display students. Okay, here I have added list box. I will display them inside the list box. We can also use grid, but see the grid later. And here I will add a button to select and list the students. Okay, list the students. Okay, and name. Okay, so what we are going to do is we will select top 100 students from database and add them to our list box. To do that, I will use the using command, but it will be a little bit different this time. So our base query will be select top 100 all. So start from TBL students. First, let's check our query whether it is working or not in SQL Server Management Studio. And yes, it is working. By the way, when we select top use, how does it sort it? Currently, it is not sorted with anything, so whenever we run the query, it may change. However, do we have a primary key? No, we don't have a primary key, therefore the results may change whenever you do the query, but it is bringing the same results at the moment. And then what we are going to do is this time we will execute command with select, and it has a kind of different syntax here. Instead of SQL command, we will use SQL data adapter. It will take also a query, a connection, and it will fill a dataset. So what is a dataset? Dataset means a single table with multiple or single row. So this is the dataset type. So it will fill dataset. However, we have to initialize it to be used. So it will be an empty dataset. And then we will return the dataset once it is filled with. So by the way, we don't have a return right now because we are not writing our method for database queries. Okay, so what is this going to do is it will execute this query and fill the dataset with the returned results. Currently, dataset supports only one table. You see currently there is only one table result. If you execute two queries like this, you see there will be two tables. Dataset supports multiple tables, by the way. So I think I will write two queries. The second one will select only top 10. So let's execute this query and see how it is working. Dataset, data table. Yes, dataset supports multiple tables. Therefore, it is like a database in our table. Let's see our code is working or not. Then we fill it. Okay. When we hover our mouse cursor over the dset object and click the magnifier icon, we can see what's inside it. So you see there is table at the top, and there is table and table 1. So this is table 0, this is table 1, and you see table 0 has 100 records like this, and the table 1 has only 10 records. So this is what is about dataset. Now, since I have obtained my dataset, I can add that to my list box. So I will do a for loop inside dataset tables. And which table? I can iterate tables as well. So let's iterate tables, and inside each table, such as this, I will do a for each dset tables. And here it will be, each one will be a table. So let's, okay, like this table, let's say table this or my table. And inside each table, there will be different columns and records. So this table, rows count. Where is the rows? Interesting. Data table, collection dataset tables. Okay, I think it will be data table, not table here. And now rows should appear. Okay, here rows count. So for each count, did we give a name to our list box? Okay, let's give it a name so we can access from code behind. Okay, one. Okay, items add. We can add the items like this. So my table rows student ID equal to my table rows I, and here I can either access it with index or column name. Here student ID, the column name, and then I have to convert it to string, and then I will access the student name as okay. This will be the first table values, by the way. Zero, first table is index 0, and the name will be my table rows 1, index 1. I will do different ways of doing this, and here I will continue. This time I will access them these tables count, and there will be 2 for. So let's name this as okay. These tables rows. By the way, it will be I, not here. Inside these rows, yeah, we will access them like this. So this time let's write only the email, student email. Yeah, this time we have to access it as like this, student email. Okay, let's write another for each, and here another for each. This time I will for each the rows inside data table DRW. Let's add nickname equal to nickname. You see, I have shown you the different ways to access the results obtained from data table. We can also do something like this, inside dataset tables and the second table rows, something like this. And let's write this time is mail. Okay, I think like this. Yeah, you see I can access the table with index. I can iterate them like this. I can for them, for loop them like this. All of the methods are displayed. Each time we have to do a toString because it is a database object. Therefore, if you don't do toString, you won't get the value of the object. That's right. So you see student ID, student name. These are the first 110. Then their email 110. Okay, you see we see the all same emails. So we have a problem with emails, which is the error is here. Because the counter for email loop is not I. So let's rerun the application. You see we can see the email, we can see the nickname, and we can see the Ismail. They are all false. This is weird. So yeah, looks like I see. So when we insert the data as with minimum 0, then the maximum 1, 1 is exclusive. Therefore, we have to set it as 2. So let's delete all the records in the database. Okay, you see all deleted. Let's insert some. Okay, we have inserted. Now we can see, okay, true, false, true. Okay, we have now seen all update, delete. We haven't seen the update yet. So let's add an update feature as well. So I will make the update kind of dynamic. Let's add 2 text box. So the first text box will be the predicate to either list the results or update or delete the record. So let's name this as predicate, name txt predicate. Then I will add another text box for a new value. Okay, so this will be txt new value. Here, let's write inside new value. Let's add an update button, name btn update, and I will add list all button predicate. We first do the update, then we can move to the next. However, for update, I think we also need to set the column name because otherwise we cannot update new value without column. Let's get columns names as well inside the drop box, combo box here. Okay, so this screen is getting crowded, therefore I will add tab control this, and let's move item side tab control. Okay, this is the first grid, and inside the first grid and them like this, and yeah, and here another grid. We have seen grid previous semester, so you know them already. Okay, and this is the second grid we have. Now it's easier to see them. New value update, and let's add this box another list here. Good. And let's add a button to list this box. Okay, name as list all records, whatever. We can name or define it as we want. First, we need to populate this combo box when the application starts. So CMB column names. So let's populate the combo box when the main window starts. What we are going to do is we will select top one all from TBL students like this. To do that, you see I have to do a copy paste code, and for now I will do it just to show you. Then what we are going to do is for each, so I will test and tables, columns, no, tables, yes, first tables, and this will be data table, dt, and inside dt dot columns, yeah, here we are column, and then I will populate my combo box items at your column to string. So let's see if it is working or not. When I run the application, since it is inside my constructor inside main window, it will get populated the column names of my students table. I click, okay, they are here. You see my column names. Great. Now I can write my list button. What this is going to do is this will list the results. However, you see I keep writing same code again and again, and this is a big no. What else I can do? What would be the good solution to solve my copy paste of code? I can do add a class, a static class for my database operations, and I will name it as CSDB connection. It is added. I will name it as public class CSDB connection. I will write some methods, public static data set, and in order to return data set I have to add here using system data. Let's add select data set method, and this will take a string as our query. This will use my connection string, so I'm going to move this here as public static string, and now it will be broken here, and to be able to use it here I will add it here as a reference using static lecture 3 CSDB connection. Once you add a class as static like this, all the defined properties fields here will be directly available. Therefore, you see I don't get any error. Why? Because wherever it is referenced to SR connection string, it is coming from field static string of CSDB connection SR connection string, as you can see. And what this is going to do is it will simply do this, okay, and return this. Okay, now we still have some reference issues. Libraries, I am adding SQL data SQL client, and here it will be like this. Now I have written a simple method to do select statements, and it will return a data set. Here I will return a data set, or I can also say var, or let's say dt records equal to, from DB connection I can reference it, or I can directly access the method because I have added CSDB connection as reference to here using, and the query will be select all from TBL students. Okay, this will be a base query, and what I am going to do is I will do a for each inside the first table. However, if my query fails, my application would crash, but I am not considering that uncaught errors right now. Okay, here I have a for each in, and then append like this. So here I will do for each the column name, and I will compose a string as r, say record base equal to, so it will be plus equal to column name. By the way, this is object, yes, therefore I have to make a string plus, let's make it this, and here string I will add the top character to the end. Okay, then I will add it to my list box, which is named as name2, list box 2 items add are record base. Okay, let's test if it is working or not. By the way, a string builder would be more appropriate to use because when you do a string concatenation, it is a big operation for computer to do each time it allocates a new string object. However, this is not that big, so we have used a string, but let's use string builder. That is a better, so we learn the better option. A string builder is coming from system class text sr build new string builder, and here we will use append. It will append like this. Then yeah, it should work each time because we will initialize a new string to string like this. Let's test it. Initialize new string builder, by the way. Okay, let's go to second tab, list records. Okay, so you see we have added all records to our list. Okay, it is working as expected. Now what I am going to do is I will dynamically use these predicates. So this is our base query equal to like this. However, if combo box selected index is bigger than 0, I will modify my query as equal to selected item string. Okay, so it will select a certain column. So let's test it. You see, when you are writing a program, you should go step by step, not write everything at once and try whether it is working or not. Do step by step, so constantly. I have used dynamic iterations, so I will record student name list. Okay, you see I only see the student name, so this is a selecting single column, and I can also write a where predicate. How? It is like this. So here we have predicate inside txt predicate. If txt text not equal to predicate, what am I going to do is sr base query is equal to, I will put a empty character here. By the way, if you have multiple empty characters, it is not important. They are ignored text. So this will be a predicate. So let me show you how we are going to use our predicate. Okay, so let's list them all. Okay, I want to list student ID bigger than or smaller than 100k. So where student ID smaller than, by the way, the column names are not case sensitive. Let's write like this. Okay, we have a problem somewhere. We have a problem. The problem is student ID is not, the column names are not case sensitive. However, when SQL lowers the big I into the smaller I, it has converted it into, I think, this. Let's try. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, because of my system. So I have to write it like this. You see, I can also write it like this, student ID. Doesn't matter, yeah. However, there was a big I conversion problem. So let's rerun it. You see, when an error happens, it causes a crash. Therefore, I have to add try and catch inside my connection, like here. And if an error happens, I can log it here, like this. Log error or exception A. So the application will not crash. Okay. However, it will crash at the other side because we didn't check that where either there is a table or not. We will see that as well. So I write something like this. This is not valid. Interesting. Okay, this is appended. Now we are having a problem here because we didn't check whether this table has index 0 or not. And check here if count bigger than 0. I think this wouldn't work as well because it will try to access index and it will throw an error. Now it should work. Yeah. Now I will fix the query. I will write it as smaller than this, nothing, like this, nothing, add another, nothing, add another. Okay, now I see, you see, I have listed only one. And now time to write update query. For update queries, we will generate another method inside our CSDB connection class because here we keep copy pasting our code, which is a big no and no. Therefore, I will take our proper query here and public static int. Why int? Because we will return the number of affected rows. Let's say update, delete, insert. We have command. We will return this result of this. However, this may also cause an error. Therefore, we have to take it inside try and catch. Here log exception. And now not all the paths are returning, and therefore we will return 0. Now I can call it. I will write update click here. So let's first write our update here. Update tbs student set which column? X column, for example, student ID, like this. Where I also need a where predicate, or it would update entire table. For example, equal to like this. Okay. So this is my base query. This. Now I need at least one parameter, which is the updated column name. Therefore, if combo box column name selected index is smaller than 0, I will return. Else, here I will use it to string, and then I will append a text to it. Okay, here I will add txt new value text. The rest will be like this. I think we can append it here. Let's name it as this, and this box show db connection, or let's just call our method update delete insert as our base query. Let's say affected number of rows. Okay, now it should work. By the way, our text boxes are pretty small right now, so I will expand them, make them bigger, organize them a little. This here, this wasn't necessary, but I just want to use it more efficiently. So let's list the records. Okay, we can see the list records here. So let's update this record. If it has a unique name, it will be only updated. So the new value will be Furkan. However, I didn't add an important thing here, which is here. I have to encapsulate it as a string like this. And additionally, if the new text has single like this, because if you're adding this literal into your string in SQL query, you have to replace it with double single quote. Okay, now it should work as expected. Okay, let's list records. So I will update this student name. So the new value will be Furkan. I will write the var predicate as student name equal to ZA3VF. So let's click update and relist. Okay, it didn't return anything. Why? Let's add a Oh, I know the reason. Because we didn't select which column to be updated. So the column will be updated is student name, and okay, one row affected when we relist. So this is the student ID. Let's note that as well, which is okay, relist. Oh, we didn't clear the older records, so let's change this a bit. Okay, items clear and relist records. Okay, so do we see Furkan here? Yes. Student name Furkan is updated. If I don't write any predicate, it will update all columns to Furkan. Let's see. 500 rows affected. List records all student names Furkan. There is no non-index, by the way. So you see all student names are now, we are not able to select index 0, by the way. Also, let's restart the application. And let's fix that as well, so we can return back to all records. And how are we gonna do that is items add all, and this index 0 will be as, oh, by the way, this was already erroneous. Selected index bigger than 0. Selected index is lesser than 1. Yeah. And by default, I will assign the selected index as equal to 0. Now it should work. Let's list all records. Let's list only student email and all. So let's add a predicate as where is mail equal to 1. List records. Okay. So 1 is not working, so I will set as true. Okay. Oh, I know, because this has to be big. Okay, now it is working. Only true mail. If I do it like this, okay, still working. So both way working. So this is how we do select, update, delete, insert programmatically with C# in Microsoft SQL database. I have composed a connection class. Now I don't have to each time write this. Okay, I will also fix this. Dset is equal to select dataset is our base query. Now it should work also. You see how much cleaner our code becomes. We could also remove all the duplicate codes we have written here at the previously, but I won't touch them so you can see them as well. But at home you can remove these duplicate queries and use our methods we have generated. Okay, it is working. Operation efficient properly. Okay, and what else? How to where predicate to filter update queries. What if we want to select single row? We know that our method will return only single row, and currently we are using these methods, or we want to pick only single data table, not multiple data tables in our query. Then we can expand our methods. For example, this is a method that I have written myself. So what does this set commit means? Set commit means that isolation level read uncommitted. This is something that you should not bother at the moment, care about at the moment. I will also comment this out. So what is the different thing that is made here? You see, we are returning a data table, not a data set. The difference is we are using fill with data table instead of a data set. That's just that, nothing else. So it automatically handles and fills with data table instead of a data set. What else there is we can do? We can also return a data row. If we know that our method will return only single results, single row result, we can use data row, which is an efficient way of returning. Here what we are doing is alternatively is we are returning the first row if it does exist. It is actually not much different because we still have to use SQL adapter and data table for filling. However, it is better than other methods. Okay, and the most important thing is when we write our queries like here, our program is vulnerable to hacking with SQL injection. I don't know if I should show you SQL injection this week or not, but I want you to search for what is SQL injection, and I will show you how to prevent it next week. So I want you to look for what is SQL injection and how to prevent it. I want you to search this topic, get an idea about it. Hopefully next lecture I will show you how to prevent SQL injection as well. So let's add some other options such as order by, because currently our results are not ordered by anything. It is ordered by the SQL server itself. So to order by, I will add another combo box. So let's name this combo box as column. I will add another text box to define my order by. Let's give it a name as name txt order by, because we can order by multiple things if there are same values. I will show you. Comment say. Okay, what I'm going to do is I will add more records to my database with more same IDs, names. To do that, I need to modify my method here. Okay, so I will reduce this to 5 characters. I will reduce this to between 1 and let's say 10k, and let's add 50k record. Let's run the application. Oh, then I will also add order by to my method here, my list method. If txt order is not equal to order comment, I will append it to my query. That's it, because order by comes at the end of the query. We can also log our executed queries as file. Okay, to use file I have to append edit to my references, or alternatively I can write the full path as system io file append or write all text. So what I'm going to do is I will datetime now plus new line my base query plus environment new line. Okay, these are both equal, new line and environment new line, and the file name will be queries.txt. So now let's delete all records, repopulate our database. Okay, I will delete all students. Okay, all deleted, and now I will add 50k records. It will take some time, obviously. You see both SQL Server and Profiler is working. By the way, we can close Profiler because you're showing everything, so it is taking CPU. I will make another addition. You see, I am not able to see how many records added, and my interface is frozen. I think I will show that next week. So let me add a comment here. Okay, next week show how to prevent UI freezing when adding new records. Also show the number of edit records. Show how to prevent SQL injection. I'm taking notes. So let's see how many records we have added so far. To get that number quickly, select count star from TBR students. Okay, we have added 34k records, and therefore I also need to list my result with, I think, select top X. So let's make it as top 500, because otherwise it would be too much data to select and add to this box, which would make our system slower. Let's list records. Okay, so you see now the names are 4 characters or 3 characters, and student ID is between 1 and 10k. So let's order the list with student ID, order by student ID ascending. So you see now they are ordered with ascending order. However, there are multiple records with same student ID, and therefore they are not sorted as I want. Then I can add another query ordering parameter to the end as student name ascending. So now let's check the record 18. Okay, you see now we have a problem because I have written this column name incorrectly. Now let's see, we come to the first ordering by 18, and then you see the name is ordered by descending. So you can define multiple orderings. It will order sort with first value, then by the second value. Then I can even sort by third value if there are same student names. So let's make first order by student name. Okay, so do we have same student name? Yes, here we have same student name. Then I can order by email. Student email, ascending, or by default maybe scanning. Okay, it says that student email. Yeah, it has done. You see, it has taken some time. Why? Because currently we have no index, therefore the query is taking a lot of time to execute. How can we know how much time it's taking, or it suggests us any index or not? So we have saved queries in our text file. I am opening it from open folder of the project, bin debug.NET Core. Here SQL queries. Okay, so since we have used write all text, it is erasing the previous records. So this has to be append all text. Now it won't delete. I will execute it. Here it is executed. Now if you clicked actual include actual execution plan here, it will show you here how the query is executed. So you see which one of the things are taking how much time. The sorting of top 500 taking 90% of the time, and then it does a table scan. And if I add a predicate here as student ID equal to, let's say, 32, now when I run it, it will show me the execution plan. Currently, you see it has taken so much lesser time for sorting. However, this is still not very effective because it doesn't have an index. If we had an index, it would be much faster, but I won't get that right now. Just you should have an idea about how to use here. And if we had much higher number of records, it will take much more time. I think maybe I can show indexes, but it is then getting out of our course context, so I won't delve into indexes, I think. But you get the idea. I am hoping that you will understand every part of this lecture, because this lecture is so important that you to understand how to do database operations, how to record data in database, retrieve that record from database with where query, sort query, such as let's do another where filtering. Okay, I list all records. Then I want to list names that starts with B. So here where student name like the beginning letter will be B and the rest will be this. This means that it will retrieve all student names that starts with B letter and the rest is not important. Okay, you see all the students are listed with like, and then I can tell the software that it should end with A. So here it can be any number of string, numeric, whatever. Let's list it. Okay, you see they are starting with B and ending with A. You can also add or student name like this time I will tell it to end with A. Okay, now you see all records ending with A or starting with B and ending with A, B, D, C, E, E. Yeah, I am having a hard time to pronounce letters single by single, but you are understanding the concept. So this is how you write or query or like query. I can also add an and here, and if I add and, let's say I will say that student ID equal to 9944. Okay, so this will list me these many records. You see it is ending with A and 9944. So this is equal to this actually. If you put parentheses, it is better to write that way. And now our query file should be updated. Okay, you see my all queries are getting logged like this. I can copy them and run them in here and it would work same. When I click actual execution plan, now it will show me. Okay, it doesn't make any index suggestions right now. However, if we add more records, then it may start showing us suggestions, but I will leave it to next week. So, by the way, these where and or keyword can be used in update or delete queries as well. So, where predicate applies to all, select, update, and delete queries. This is important to understand. Whatever we select, we can do it for update or delete as well. So let's say, let's update student name of all student ID, where student ID equal to, by the way, where student ID equal to 5965 or student ID equal to, or let's say in 8907, then comma this 86. Okay, this should update 3 rows and student name, and the new value will be, let's say, Furkan. Then update. Okay, 9 rows affected. Okay, and then let's sort them by student name or filter with student name Furkan. So student name equal to Furkan and list records. Okay, so this is the listing. Let's select all. Okay, you see the IDs that we have defined in the where clause are here. So this way you can also delete them. However, we haven't added a delete button here. You can try to add delete button at home. It is same, instead of update, then you will write delete. So I will edit next week. I will leave it to you to do at your home so you will understand the system better. Queries are saved here as well, you see. So it's a good thing to keep as a history. Okay, end of the lecture. Hopefully see you next week.